You're watching Wanted with me, Jonathan. Now, just when you thought the bloodbath in the dreaded Bheema River basin was slowly drying out, the latest murder of a Dubai returned simpleton who was working as a farmer has rocked the entire region again. So, what exactly happened? Is this the return of the dreaded gangs of the Bheema River basin? Here's the story. Bheema Teera. These two words are enough to send shivers down the spine of anyone who has an iota of knowledge about the history of this place. Dreaded gangs, notorious gang wars, and gun violence have marred the Bheema River basin. The gun violence of this region has claimed many innocent lives till now, and the list keeps growing perpetually. Country pistols are sold like toys here. Over the past few years, this region has emerged as Karnataka's capital for country-made weapons. No longer do gun-related crimes involve pricey and imported Colts, Smith and Wessons, Heckler and Kochs, and Makarovs. It is nameless homemade guns with no pedigree, which are made in remote hamlets in North Karnataka that are snuffing out lives of unsuspecting victims. Adding to the already dreaded scenario here, the district is also one of the most preferred destinations for hired assassins. It is believed that most households on the banks of Bheema River brandish country-made pistols that are often sourced from Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh as proud souvenirs. The police say that most gangsters and contract killers prefer a kata or country-made gun because it is easy to handle and easier to dispose of, and also it is extremely difficult to trace their ownership. Apart from this, there is also the price factor, which makes owning these weapons easier for the dreaded goons of this region. Yes, the police had enough of the unrelenting gun violence, and after collecting the information about such illegal guns, they seized over 50 such guns and put the gun holders behind bars. This crackdown seemed to be working as the air in Kalaburgi saw a significant reduction in gunshots. The people of Kalaburgi's Vijaypura too were delighted that finally peace returned to them, but their happiness didn't last long. The haunting past was back. Karjagi village of Kalaburgi district's Afzalpur Taluk was struck with fear once again as the region once again was brought to a screeching halt by gunshots.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಯ ಅದ ಸರ್ ಇದು ಫೈರಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದೊಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಊರಿಗೆ ಭಯ ಆಗಿದೆ ಸರ್ ಇದು ಹೌದಲ್ಲ ಹೌದು ಸರ್ ಹಾಂ ಮತ್ತು ಫೈರಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೋಳಿ ಇದು ಫೈರಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇದನ್ನೇ ಸರ್ ಇದು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನರು ಬದುಕಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ಇದು ಹಿಂಗಾದ್ರೆ.
Yes, the village that suddenly shot into the limelight literally was the beautiful village of Karjagi. This village was a diverse population of over 8,000 people. The village is known for its communal harmony despite a diverse population, but the same village witnessed a cold-blooded murder on the 9th of this month. Wondering what could be the reason behind such a beautiful village being bathed by blood? Yes, you guessed it right. The same illegal country pistols. While Karjagi was gearing up for Muharram, the air was filled by the sound of a gunshot, resulting from a cold-blooded murder. The incident took place on the 9th of this month, and what's shocking is that the gruesome act was carried out in a crowded place of the village. A young man had been gunned down by miscreants near the Maharashtra bank in the village. So the next obvious question is, what exactly happened in Karjagi village that night? Whose life did the dreaded country pistols now claim? Well, let's not keep you waiting. The victim that we are talking about here is 28-year-old Sai Banna. Saibana was a simpleton, a foreign returned man, working hard to provide a better life to his family. The same person has now been brutally shot down to death. Saibana was brutally shot in his mouth by the accused. There are a lot of houses right in front of the Maharashtra Bank, and many people move in and out of the street where the incident took place till late in the night. This clearly didn't deter the miscreant who gunned down Saibana, regardless of all this. Saibana, who was shot in the mouth, and his clothes were all drenched in blood, was immediately shifted by the onlookers to the Afzalpur government hospital. The onlooker managed to get Saibana, who was lying in a pool of blood on a bike, and shifted him to the hospital. And the shocking part is, these people didn't even know that Saibana had been shot. Yes, they did hear the gunshot but ignored it for some other sound and continued on with their work. But when they saw the young man lying in a pool of blood, that's when they knew something drastic had gone down. The onlookers initially assumed that Saibana was stabbed and hence was bleeding so profusely. Regardless of the cause, their priority was to get the victim to a hospital, and so they did. Only when Saibana was taken to the hospital did the actual facts come to light. In the hospital, it was revealed that Saibana had been shot in the mouth and the bullet had made its way out through his head. On being told that the matter was too serious and that it could not be treated at the Afzalpur government hospital, the relatives of Saibana, who had by now arrived, shifted him to the Kalaburgi district hospital. But as fate would have it, Saibana breathed his last before being shifted to the Kalaburgi district hospital. As soon as the news of his death spread, the family's cries reached their peak. They were completely distraught and left stunned, having lost their sole breadwinner. On one hand was a mother who had lost her beloved son. On the other, there was a wife and two kids whose future was now on the streets. To add to the heart-wrenching state, Saibana's second child is only 3 months old. The sight of Saibana's wife, who happens to be mute, inconsolable herself, consoling her child in her own sign language, jerked tears in the eyes of everyone present. The man who was the light of their lives had been gunned down in the goriest way possible. But who was Saibana? Why was he so brutally murdered? To find out about that, let's tell you about the man himself. Saibana was a 28-year-old man who had returned to India just a couple of years ago after working in Dubai as a construction worker for several years. On his return, Saibana took to farming in his village and had a good rapport with everyone. His first wife had deserted him, and then he went ahead with a second marriage. His second wife is mute. Her disability had not hampered their relation, as she was the perfect wife and daughter-in-law. Saibana was really happy in his marriage, and his life had become even better after the birth of his second daughter. They had no issues in their lives whatsoever, and it was pretty much a perfect life. But look at the cruel twist of fate. The name Saibana is now no more after being brutally gunned down. His family alleges that he was tricked into drinking heavily and then murdered. Yes, that same evening Saibana had come home with a friend, and due to the smell, it was obvious that he was heavily intoxicated. When Saibana arrived, his mother was off to a temple in some other village, and his brother's wife was in another room. Saibana had just begun his dinner when his friend interrupted and told him about the non-vegetarian food prepared in one of his relatives' house on the occasion of Moharram. His friend invited him to his relative's house for the non-vegetarian feast, and Saibana immediately got up, leaving his dinner midway, and got on his bike with a friend and left. It later came to light that it was only after this that Saibana had been gunned down.
ನಿನ್ರಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಇದಕ್ಕದು ಬಂದಾನ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೊರಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಯಾನ್ರಿ ಹೊರಗೆ ಹೋಗಾನ ಅವ್ರು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಯಾರಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಗುಂಡೆ ಹಾಕ್ಯಾನ್ರಿ ಬಾಯಾಗ ಅವ್ ಮಣ್ಯಾಂಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಗುಂಡೆ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಟ್ಟಾನ್ರಿ ಅವ್ ಮುಸಲ್ಮ ಬಂದು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಯಾನ್ರಿ ಅವ್ ಮುಸಲ್ಮ ಅನ್ರಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ಹುಡುಗ ಇವ ಮನ್ಯಾಗಿದ್ರಿ ನಡಿಯಾರಿ ಊಟ ಮಾಡೋನು ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ಸ್ಯಾರ ನಡಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಯಾನ್ರಿ ಉಣಾದ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಉಂಡಾನ್ರಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಅದು ಚಪಾತಿ ಉಂಡಾನ ಉಂಡು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಹೋಗ್ಯಾನ್ರಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಗಾಡಿ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಹೋಗ್ಯಾನ ಊರು ಸುತ್ತ ಹಾಕ್ಯಾರಿ ನನ್ನ ಮಗನಿಗೆ ತಂದು ಊರು ಸುತ್ತ ಹಾಕ್ಯಾರ ಅವ ದತ್ಯ ಬ್ಯಾ ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬ ದತ್ಯ ರತ್ನಿ ಕಸ್ತೂರಿ ನೀಲಿ ಒಟ್ಟು ಮಂದಿ ಹಾರ ನನ್ನ ಮಗನಿಗೆ ಹೊಡೆತಾನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರ ಅಲ್ಲ ಹೊಡಿಬೇಡ ಅಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಕಸ್ಕೊಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಗುಂಡೆ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಟ್ಟನ್ರಿ ಅವ ಗುಂಡೆ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಟ್ಟನ್ರಿ ಬಾಯಾಗ ಗುಂಡು ಹಾಕಿ ಹೊಡ್ದಾರಿ
ತಿರುಗಾಡಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಯಾರನ್ ಏನು ಮೋಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಯಾರನ್ರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಯಾರ ಗುಂಡು ಹಾರಿಸ್ಯಾರಿ ಕುಡಿಸ್ಯಾರಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಫುಲ್ ಕುಡಿಸ್ಯಾರಿ ಕುಡ್ದಿರಿ ಅವ್ರು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಗೆ ಬಂದೇಳಿಗೆ ಕುಡ್ದಿರ್ರಿ ಅವ್ರು ಬರ್ಚಾಕಿದ್ರಿ ಆಳಿಗೆ ಅವ್ರು ಇಬ್ಬರೂ ಕುಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾರಿ ಅವ್ರ ಸನಿ ನಾವು ಹೋಗಿಲ್ರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಾಸ ಬರ್ಲಾಗತ್ತಿದ್ರಿ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಬಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನ್ಯಾಗ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಾಗಲ್ ತರದ್ರಿ ಬಾಟ್ಲಿಗೆ ಇಟ್ರೆ ನೋಡ್ದನ ಬಾಟ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದಿಲ್ರಿ ಅವ್ರು ಕುಡ್ದಿದ್ದು ವಾಸನೆನೇ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ರಿ ಅದು ಒಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಮಾಡ್ಯಾರಿ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾರಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತದ್ರಿ ಕುಡ್ದ ಬಳಕ ಮೋಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊಡೆದಾರಿ ಖಾಲಿ ಹೊತ್ನಾಗ ಆದ್ರೆ ಸಿಗಂಗೆ ಕಾಣಲ್ಲ ಅಂದು ಕುಡಿಸಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊಡೆದಾರಿ ಜಗಳ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಏನು ಕೂನಿ ಇಲ್ರಿ ಅವ್ರು ಜಗಳೇ ಬಂದಿಲ್ರಿ ಅವ್ರು ಹೊರಗಿನ ದೇಶದ ಬಂದ ಬಳಕ ಜಗಳ ಇಲ್ರಿ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೊಲಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿರು ಮನೆಗೆ ಬರ್ತಿರು ಹೊರಗಿದವ್ರ ಗಿಡ ತಿರುಗಾಡ್ತಿರು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರು ಅಟ್ಟೇ ರೀ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಆಯ್ತು ನಾವಾಯ್ತು ಹೋಗ್ತಿರು ಬರ್ತಿರು ಯಾವತ್ತು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರ ಬರ್ತಾರ ಹಂಗೆ ಇದ್ರಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಹಂಗೆ ಆಗೋದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನೂ ಕೂನಿ ಇಲ್ರಿ.
Who could possibly murder the already intoxicated Saibana?
We told you about the kind of man Saibana was and how brutally he was gunned down to death. So the obvious questions that follow are, who could possibly have the answers about who killed a man like Saibana, and why would anyone commit such an act? Well, here's more on that.
The answer to these questions is this man, Abhishek. This man Abhishek is being blamed for the murder of Saibana, and the allegations are coming in from none other than Saibana's family. Abhishek is being blamed for Saibana's murder after he was seen escaping the murder spot after firing a bullet down Saibana's mouth. So who is this Abhishek, the accused who so cowardly gunned a drunken man? Abhishek is a mechanic from the same village. In fact, his house is right next to the murder spot. Abhishek's house is in tatters, threatening to come down any second. He didn't have a stable earning, nor had the resources to afford 3 full meals a day. Such was the condition he was living in. But this didn't deter his aspirations of a whole fancy life. Despite his unstable income from the garage that he owned, he had savored jail food in the past. Accused of robbery and possession of illegal arms, he had been put behind bars. And instead of learning his lesson and mending his ways, he saw this as a boost of his influence in the village as a dangerous man. Saibana's relatives allege that it is probably the hangover of this delusional gangster persona that he might have murdered Saibana. Yes, we understand that this is too shallow a reason for a murder. There is more history between the two than what meets the eye. Saibana and Abhishek belong to the same closely knit community and are from the same caste. Not just this, both apparently are distant relatives. But why was there such hostility between the two? Well, many years ago, there was a major dispute between Saibana and his relatives about the property. The situation turned even more volatile after Abhishek stepped in. Yes, the same crooked Abhishek had then intervened, took his relative's side, and then threatened Saibana of dire consequences. However, this incident took place several years ago and the tensions had long eroded. The two had no quarrel after that incident and in fact were good friends now. But then why would Abhishek murder Saibana? Why would foes turn friends, turn foes again? Though the reason is unclear as of now, their recent quarrel is said to be the reason behind the murder. Yes, the two recently had a quarrel over a third friend, and this is believed to be the reason behind the murder. According to a few people, Abhishek recently had a major quarrel with a friend of Saibana. Upon learning about this, Saibana is said to have confronted Abhishek. Saibana reportedly asked Abhishek to not trouble his friend and stay away from him. This argument escalated to a level where Abhishek was so miffed with Saibana that he reportedly went back to his place, brought out one of his country-made pistols, and shot Saibana straight into the mouth. He apparently shot Saibana point blank as the bullet exited from the back of his head. The information about the gruesome incident spread like wildfire, and the Afzalpur police and SP Vinayak Patil visited the spot and began their investigation.
ಅಫ್ಜಲ್ಪುರ್ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿಯ ಕರಜಗಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೆ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಒಂದು ಶೂಟೌಟ್ ಪ್ರಕರಣ ದಾಖಲಾಗಿ ಒಬ್ಬಂದು ಕೊಲೆಯಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಪ್ರಕರಣ ದಾಖಲಾಗಿ ತನಿಖೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಸು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಕಲೆ ಹಾಕಲಾಗಿದೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಪತ್ತೆಗಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಏನೇನಾಗಿದೆ ಅದು ಅಕ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ನಿಖರವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಕೆಲವು ಜನ ಇದ್ದರು ಅಂತ, ಒಂದು 3-4 ಜನ ಗ್ರೂಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದರು. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಜನ ಅಬ್ಸ್ಕಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಇದ್ದರು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಈಗ ಬಹಿರಂಗವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳೋದು ಸೂಕ್ತ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ.
As of now, 2 people, including the friend who invited Saibana for a Moram feast, have been arrested. However, Abhishek still remains at large. The police have already launched a manhunt to trace the accused. The effects of this murder are much more than what meets the eye. This has once again stirred up the Bheema River basin and taken the blanket off the delusion that the country-made firearms and incidents due to them had been brought under control.
2017 ನವೆಂಬರ್ ಡಿಸೆಂಬರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸುಮಾರು ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ರಿಕವರ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಕಳೆದ 2-3 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೂ ಈ ಥರ ಇನ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಆ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಈ ಇಲ್ಲೀಗಲ್ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ವಿಷಯ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗಂಭೀರತೆಯಿಂದ ಪರಿಗಣಿಸಿ ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ.
The police are now back on its toes as even the past. A single incident like this has escalated and snowballed into a collection of isolated incidents that has made the entire region volatile. As far as this case is concerned, hopefully the police arrest the accused at the earliest, and only after his confession will the family get the closure it deserves. Sanjay for News 9, Kalaburgi.